Short-term rentals are gaining a lot of momentum. There are some very good cash flows. They do outperform year-round rentals in most cases. And I started my career 25 years ago building and renovating short-term rentals on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. So we're going to take a look at a case study here. So I started my career as a developer building and renovating short-term rentals. And this is a multi-million-dollar, 10,000 square foot, 16-bedroom oceanfront rental house. It is the largest house in the area down there ever built. Nothing else larger can be built because of the zoning laws. This was an interesting case study. It's an oceanfront property where I purchased an existing house. It was sitting on a big lot. And the original vision was to do a duplex, to do a side-by-side duplex, 8 bedrooms on each side. And as it turned out, the zoning from a Coastal Area Management Association Act would not allow a duplex to be built that close to the ocean. So I ended up having to revise the plan and made a single family out of it. So basically, I'd already designed the duplex. So I just went ahead and eliminated the wall, and I did double kitchens. That's what we were showing on the top floor with a big open living area. This is the movie theater room here. This is the sports bar on the mid-level. So the top floor had 2 master suites. It had 2 full kitchens, a giant living area, had a nice barrel ceiling, huge upper level there. And this is the front elevation. The mid-level had bedrooms down each side. Every bedroom has its own bathroom. So they were all master suites. This giant pool here was a 0 entry pool. And of course, there's the ocean right there. So it was an interesting property. This is the upper level great room area. And the downstairs had bedrooms and another recreation room for kids with foosball, ping pong, TVs, things like that. The sports bar had a TV, had multiple TVs in there as well. And this, when I built this property, I don't remember what year it was. It was in the 2000s, early to mid 2000s. So I bought an existing property, tore it down, built this house. It took about 8 months to build from the ground up and furnish and get it all turnkey ready for the season. And this house will consistently do $300,000 to $400,000 a year in rental income. And that's mostly through the summer. So the issue with an area like the Outer Banks, it has a very short vacation rental season. You have 16 prime weeks. And for the most part, most houses like this will rent for 28, maybe 30 weeks out of the year. So you end up having a lot of vacancy just because of the off season. People just don't go to this coastal area in the off season that much. Some houses rent in the off season, might rent at Christmas, might rent around New Year's, but then they generally sit vacant the rest of January, February, most of March, and they'll rent around the rest of the year. So if you get 28 to 30 weeks out of these properties, that's pretty good. The upside is you can enjoy the property in the off season. It's still a good time to be there when you have good weather days, things like that. And obviously with the short-term vacation rentals, one of the advantages to that business is there are no collections, no evictions, no collections, no vacancies from a traditional standpoint. Obviously, you have your off season here, but a lot of people focus on other areas of the country where short-term rentals get more vacancy all year round, 48 to 50 weeks in a lot of areas. A lot of these coastal areas, on the mid-central East Coast, like in the Carolinas, it gets very cold in the winter, so it's not desirable. Down in Florida, obviously the beaches down there have more year-round rent potential. And then in the mountain areas, you have year-round rent potentials. So if you're doing short-term rentals, you want to make sure that you're in markets where those are allowed uses, like the Outer Banks. That place has always been a summer vacation destination. This is Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills, Nags Head area, Corolla Duck, for people that may or may not know those areas. And for the most part, these properties, even though they do fantastic rents, generally are not good cash flows because they have such a limited rental season in terms of, the off-season rents. There are break-evens usually with the way interest rates have been lately. Properties did do pretty well, but then prices escalated like a lot of other areas, so it kind of ate up the cash flow. So this is an area where your rental to acquisition cost ratio is not very good and was not very good for the most part. By the time you put 20% down and take care of all your taxes, insurance, maintenance, and expenses, property management, things like that, you're basically breaking even. You might make a little bit of money depending on when you bought, but the way prices have appreciated, just like other areas, it's been very difficult the last few years. But generally, you want to make sure that you're in areas where you can get a good bulk of the season of the nights filled on these properties. 48 to 50 weeks generally is what you want to shoot for in terms of occupancy, somewhere around there. You want to be in areas where it's an allowable use. It's kind of what it's always been. Vacation destination type areas where they're not anti-Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, where there's rental properties that have been around for a long time. And generally the southern beaches in Florida areas, other areas of the country where it's more year round, where you have demand drivers, like a Vegas kind of a market, or mountainous areas, Colorado, the Virginia mountains, the Carolina mountains, places like that, or other bigger cities where they will allow vacation rentals so that you don't have to worry about limited seasonality of the vacancy like you do on the Outer Banks. This is still a great area. The rents are consistent. They've done well over time. They've increased every year. Even in 2008 and 2009, when we had the great economic crisis, properties still did extremely well. People still took their vacations. We probably experienced about a 10% drop in rents and occupancies during that time, but it still stayed very robust, and rents keep going up every single year in that area. And people keep coming, and the area is growing. So the Outer Banks is a good area. It's a good coastal environment, but the only problem, like I said, is that those properties don't have a whole lot of cash flow right now if you're only putting 20% down, but they will break even. So at the end of 30 years, what a lot of people do is they buy them kind of like an annuity. They pay them off over the years, you get depreciation, and then they'll either move into them, sell them off, it becomes a college fund, or just, they rent them out and use the cash flow. So they can be good over the long term, but over the short term, there's much better areas where you can get a lot more rental income for your dollar. And that's really what you want to look at when you're buying short-term rentals or building short-term rentals. Like I did my career, I built them from the ground up. I'd rent them out, get them stabilized, rent them out, and then sell them. And that's what I did. I did hundreds of them down there over the years. That's one project there. I'm going to showcase another one where I did 3 12-bedroom motion fronts. That one was a 16-bedroom motion front. There's another area where I had 3 of them on one property. It was a hotel. I tore down the hotel and built 3 giant houses. Usually goes the other way around. You trade in the houses for the red hotel. This case, I traded the red hotel for a bunch of green houses. So that formula can work a lot of different ways. And then I'm also going to do some videos on build to rent for year-round rentals, or even short-term executive stays is a very good business model these days. So ground up development is where it's at, because inventory is so limited. And you can build less than you can buy in a lot of markets right now. So it's a replacement cost thing. When you can build cheaper than you can buy, generally it's a good time to build. Obviously, construction costs are really high right now, so it makes it a little bit more difficult, and supply chains are still kind of clogged up. But you can get yourself ready, start preparing. Not every market is experiencing issues. Some markets are better than others. Some are more logjam than others. So, build to rent, whether you're doing short-term rentals, year-round rentals, or like executive type rentals, short-term executive rentals that are more consistent than a daily rate, like a Airbnb or VRBO or something like that, is still a good business model. And it's a great business model. Generally new will be valued more after it's done, and they are generally will rent for more. People love new properties, whether they're renovated or built new. And the decor makes a big difference in terms of themes and things like that. So just wanted to show you that one. That's a multi-million-dollar mega short-term rental. And it's kind of where I cut my teeth in the business as a developer, building and renovating short-term rentals. And it was a lot of fun, neat environment, interesting type of construction. And I'll be doing some more of these videos on different types of build to rent products. So I will see you on the next video.